had already been crossed. Their plan had seemed the only way forward when she was sitting in the safety of the castle's catacombs. But out here? They sure as hell looked like they were going somewhere when they left. She clicked off her flashlight. Then again, we killed one. Might have been someone's brother. So we go? Being out at night could be deadly, for us and them. Let's get the trucks in the garage. We leave at first light. Giovanni spoke to Rafa and Luca in Italian, and they nodded in unison and strode to the front door, opening it cautiously and looking around, their headlamps flashing in the darkness before heading out. Jess clicked her flashlight on again and shone it on Roger. He sat on the wood-beam floor, rubbing the red, flayed skin where his wrists had been bound. Giovanni had started on helping free the women. Who the hell were they? Jess took a step toward Roger. And how were you even alive? Roger squinted into the glare of her high-beam light. You don't know how happy I am to see you. His voice trembled. His face was caked with blood. He held up a shaking hand to shield his eyes. He raised his right arm, even though she knew he was left-handed. His left shoulder was still wrapped in the same dirty bandage that covered the wound from where Jess had accidentally shot him with a crossbow, at Castello Ruspoli, where they had confronted Nico in his deranged final attempt to bring closure to a centuries-old vendetta, a bloody feud between his family and the Ruspolis, into which she and her mother had been mistakenly dragged. The whole incident seemed like a long-ago dream, a surreal juxtaposition to the violence and terror of Nomad's passing. But it hadn't been a dream. Her mother and father were dead. They weren't killed by Nico, not directly, but only because Jess had managed to save them and save the young boy Hector from the lunatic in the final moments as Nomad tore the earth apart. Her mother and father had died trying to recover her father's data, the information he'd collected as Harvard's preeminent astronomer. Her father had been convinced that his data was the only surviving evidence of Nomad from more than 30 years earlier. He risked his life to recover the backpack containing the data, a collection of old tape spools and CDs, along with his laptop, and had died in the process. Why he'd risked his life, the reason he thought the information was still so valuable, Jess could only guess. Did it pinpoint some future cosmic collision? Perhaps with Saturn in 18 months, as Jess had been able to recreate on the simulations on his laptop. Or was it something else, some other event? Or something she couldn't even guess at? The only person who might be able to answer this question now sat before her, Roger Hargate, who was her father's student, and who she had had her own relationship with back in New York before any of this began. She knew a lot about Roger Hargate, more than she wanted. How long until he asked if they had any pain medication? Then again, she had impaled a wooden crossbow bolt through his shoulder only a week ago. Jess clicked her full-beam flashlight off, throwing the hallway into a near darkness, illuminated only by their red, low-power headlamps. A gale howled outside, and in her mind's eye Jess saw her father's crushed body, frozen on that mountaintop, his face mottled blue. This man had gone out with them. He must have been the last person to see her parents alive. She knelt and looked him in the eye. What happened, Roger? He winced and stared at the floor. We went out to get his backpack. Just as we got outside, something impacted the castle walls like a bomb. I was knocked out, Jess, and when I came to, everything was black. I was screaming for help, for hours. Somebody found me. They dragged me into a shelter. Who were they? What shelter? At first I thought they were rescuing people, but it wasn't like that. Jess waited. What do you mean? They were collecting people, rounding them up. For what? We were loaded onto trucks. I don't know what they were going to do with us. He covered his eyes in the crook of his elbow. His body shuddered. What are you saying, Roger? It seemed impossible that scavengers had organized themselves to traffic in human beings, not in a little more than a week. But then she'd already seen some of the horrible things people could do to each other. Her skin crawled. How many of them were there? A small group, 5 or 6 men. And they've already modified their cars like that? For snow? Giovanni sniffed. Italians in cars, no big surprise. They saw you on the road, Roger added. They had me